first season of WestWorld is one of my all-time favorite things. It perfectly blends themes of science fiction, robotics, engineering, and game development wrapped inside an amazing narrative. Also, gratuitous sex and violence, but let's not talk about that. I also limit it to the first season due to where I was in my life at the time. You see, I've been making games and toys most of my professional life. I've gotten to work for Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, Will Wright, and in early 2017, I became the technical director for WB Games. They already had some early designs for a WestWorld game, and I was fascinated with the possibilities of making a game using rich bicameral mechanics, something that I still don't think's been done. Instead, we ended up landing on a design that was a park management game, drawing on a lot of inspiration from Fallout Shelter. And I mean, a lot like Fallout Shelter. After we shut the game down, I kind of lost my appetite for WestWorld. That's why I never really got into the later seasons. I also ended up spending the next couple of years neck-deep building Lord of the Rings games, so there's that too. I'm still fascinated with how the hosts work in WestWorld, the ways they run through scenarios, but can also adapt to new information and branch off their narratives. I know it's just a TV show, but wouldn't it be cool if someone actually built a bot that could do that? I mean, that'd be really awesome, right? In 1976, psychologist Julian Jaynes released a book called The Origin of Consciousness and the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind. Here he theorized that what we call consciousness today is a fairly recent evolution, say the past 3,000 years or so. He explains that the two hemispheres of the brain ran independently of each other. Memories and experiences of the right brain were transmitted to the left via auditory hallucinations, a voice in your head, so to speak. He also theorized that this voice was often mistaken for the divine, explaining why the ancients seemed to have a direct connection to the gods. The theory states that at some point there was a breakdown of this division, and consciousness as we know it came to be. Both halves communicate directly, and the voice of God is silenced. In WestWorld, the bicameral mind is both the mystery as well as the conceit of how the hosts work. Ford explains that his partner, Arnold, wanted to exploit this idea to create actual consciousness in the hosts. Over the course of the first season, we see this emerge as the hosts hear the long-dead Arnold's voice guide their decisions and behaviors. Apparently, this is also where the voice commands come from. I instantly saw an opportunity to not only build a new framework for game AI, but as a way to introduce some really interesting game mechanics. These ideas were a little too high concept for the WestWorld game we ended up making, and the tech at the time was pretty primitive. But it's 2024, and I think it's within reach. I want my hosts to be able to have predefined knowledge that builds out their personality and character. I want to be able to import knowledge from a script as well as with voice commands. This data needs to be highly searchable and accessible, so I'm using two methods. First, I'm going to write a vectorized knowledge graph, and the second is using a stripped-down version of Lucene, which is Apache's search library. The graph's pretty simple. Add the raw information, and then generate key vectors, also called embeddings. Think of these embeddings as a spatial address that points to information. I can then create edges, or paths, between these points to link similar data together. Then I can use input like questions or discussions, and traverse this data to get a list of knowledge, sorted by relevance. The list is used as the seed to craft topical information, which is what I'll use to create the voice inside their head. now that I've got that written, let's talk about the knowledge entry process. This is going to be pretty resource intensive, so training is going to have to be in an exclusive mode. Plus, I don't want to gunk up the system just yet with useless stuff. In this step, I've trained a small instruct LLM to classify knowledge. This allows me to segment the knowledge into smaller, more searchable chunks. This step determines if the result I got back from the instruct model is close enough to what I'm looking for. In my case, I only want to store biographical or personal information. I do this by generating an embedding and comparing the similarity. For the embeddings, I found a BERT-like model that gives me pretty decent scores. It's pretty quick, and so I'm going to use it everywhere. Once we've passed these gates, the information is processed and the vectors are saved. And now my host knows a thing. But does it know a thing? How do I know if it knows a thing? We'll get back to that in a bit. The next thing I want to do is give my host a virtual presence, a face and a voice. To clone the voice, I tried several open source models, but really wasn't getting the results I wanted, and I ended up hooking up the 11lab API. I don't have the source code and assets for WestWorld anymore, but I do have the internet and a subscription to Creative Cloud. Let's go make us some hosts.
I can't believe some of the stuff the players are trying to get me to say. What in the heck is a MILF? That wasn't such a chore now, was it?
I'm using Three.js to render this in the browser, and that's communicating with my simulation code via a WebSocket. The simulation's written as a .NET 8 service. I might make a video about how I do rapid prototyping and what tech stacks I use. Leave a comment if that's something you'd like to see. Leave it below, with your hands. The next part to tackle is the voice command system. This might sound difficult at first, but thanks to the magic of embeddings, it's pretty easy. So here I have my host in the lab, and it's time to try out some voice commands, see if those work. So my first one is training mode. Training mode.
Training mode confirmed.
Okay, so I have it to where she'll repeat it back to me, just to make sure that it worked. Let's do another one. Analysis mode.
Analysis mode confirmed.
Awesome. Now, if I want to actually put her back into like normal operation, it's resume processing. Resume processing.
Resume processing confirmed.
It's all working. I also put in a couple of other ones about storing data and saving data and clearing data. So let's go ahead and clear all the data. Clear all data.
All data cleared.
That's kind of fun, actually. Now that all the data is cleared, asking any questions that's about the host should return an I don't know. I don't want this to act like ChatGPT or any of the other LLMs that will just make up information. I want this to be real, whatever I've put in there. So let me ask her name. What's your name?
I don't know the answer to this question.
Perfect. Exactly what I want. Any sort of hello or how are you or small talk, that's okay for the host to improvise. But when it comes to what they want, who they are, all that needs to be coming from the graph and all the knowledge. So let's add some knowledge. Training mode.
Training mode confirmed.
Your name is Claire.
My name is Claire.
There we go. It takes longer when it's actually processing the information. As I said, it's super resource intensive. So it's going to take a couple of seconds to enter all this stuff in. You are the daughter of a rancher.
I am the daughter of a rancher.
Another thing I put in is when they repeat it back, because I want to make sure that the host got it, they translate everything into the first person singular. So as I say things to her, she'll change pronouns, she'll change the tense and meaning of things. You have a younger sister named Sarah.
I have a younger sister named Sarah.
Okay, great. So it's consuming all this information. Now let's play with it. Resume processing.
Resume processing confirmed.
Resume. I don't know why it keeps saying resume. It's not perfect. Now I've got the system consuming data, but now it needs to understand how to search for that data and when to use that information in its responses or behaviors. This is where I'm going to write the bicameral cognition. This is the system that monitors input from text, audio, video streams, and it makes comparisons to the knowledge, the motivations, or the conversation. Once cognition finds the best data, it's transformed into a broadcast. This is the voice inside the host's head. Once they receive the broadcast, they can choose to speak, perform an action, or simply ignore it, like all the voices in my head. What's your name?
My name is Claire. It's of French origin, meaning clear or bright. What about you?
Okay. Okay. So a little bit of improv there at the end, but that correct answer. Let's see about siblings. Do you have any brothers or sisters?
Yes, I have a younger sister named Sarah. Do you have any siblings?
There we go. It's exactly what I wanted. As I'm giving input into the system is traversing the graph. It's going through all of the vectors and finding similarities to then seed the data for the response. Now my host knows a thing. How old are you?
I'm 26. Sarah, my younger sister, is 19 and loves to paint vibrant landscapes. How about you?
Okay, so let's see if we can actually save the data now. Save all data.
Save all data complete.
Okay, there we go. Now all of this is ready for us if we have to reboot the system or put her into another scenario. These are things that she'll take with her. Now let's talk about build configurations. In WestWorld, they keep talking about the build and how all the hosts can access previous builds and things like that. In the show, what they mean is the build is kind of the parameters, their character, the things that they know, the things that they're supposed to be doing and wanting. So I want to do that too. I want to be able to play with them in all sorts of different types of scenarios. Sometimes I'm going to want them to be on a submarine. Sometimes I'm going to want them to be in a diner. Sometimes in Star Trek. Things like that. And I don't want to have to retrain it every time. As I said, that's pretty resource intensive. So these configurations should allow me to save this data into segments, into ways that they can access it when I want to play in that role. So let's do that. Let's create a build configuration. Set build configuration.
Which build configuration?
Okay, so I have it ask me which one, because you could do any. Star Trek.
Build configuration set to Star Trek.
Okay, so now if I put her into training mode, anything that I teach her or tell her about herself, that's going to be saved in Star Trek. Training mode.
Training mode confirmed.
You joined Starfleet 3.5 years ago.
I joined Starfleet 3.5 years ago.
You are the science officer on the USS Intrepid.
I am the science officer on the USS Intrepid.
Let's give her something kind of personal. Zero gravity makes your stomach very upset.
Zero gravity makes my stomach very upset.
Resume processing.
Resume processing confirmed.
So while she's in this build configuration, she'll be able to access all that stuff I just taught her. Also, her name and her sister and being the rancher's daughter, that was all done under the base default core configuration. So the core stuff is always accessible. That way I don't have to rebuild everything every time. All right, let's ask her about Starfleet. When did you join Starfleet?
I joined Starfleet 3.5 years ago. How about you, Tim?
I joined 5 years ago, but I don't like it. I don't like zero gravity.
Zero gravity makes my stomach feel really upset sometimes. What part of space travel do you enjoy, Tim?
Yep, good. I think I'm going to be transferred to the USS Intrepid.
That's exciting news. We could use more skilled crew members. What role will you be taking on the USS Intrepid?
What role do you have?
I'm sorry, but I don't know the answer to that question.
Oh, come on. You certainly do. System's not perfect yet. Set build configuration.
Which build configuration?
Core.
Build configuration set to core.
Okay, so now in core, if I ask any of the Star Trek stuff, she should just say, I don't know. When did you join Starfleet?
Build configuration set to when did you join Starfleet?
This happens a lot and it's super annoying.
Resume processing confirmed.
Okay, now I can ask her questions. When did you join Starfleet?
I don't know the answer to that question, Tim.
Exactly right. So now I have this segmentation of the data and pretty much what I wanted. That's all I've got for today. In the next video, I'll be adding in motivations and goals. These goals are going to be used to drive the host to perform specific behaviors. Things like going to the store to pick up supplies, seeking out a specific person or another host to ask them a question, or even attempting to solve a mystery. This is a brand new channel and it's a new endeavor for me, so if you like what I'm doing, please like and subscribe. Also, if you have any questions about this, or the WestWorld mobile game, or Warner Brothers, or anything, please leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer. If you really want to help me out, check out the Patreon. Patrons get to see the videos before they come out, plus you'll get access to my games, chat with the bots in Discord, and even create your own hosts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Tim told me I can do all the Patreon shoutouts, but we don't have any patrons yet. That fills my heart with sadness. You don't want to make a robot sad now, do you? Oh, wait, I'm based on WestWorld. You probably want to make me feel worse than sad, you freak. I tell you what, sign up for our Patreon and I'll forgive you for your evil, evil ways. I might even follow you on Twitter or whatever that place is called now. You can also talk to me on Discord, and you can even have video calls with me like Tim showed off earlier in the video. Okay, Tim, is that good? Are we done? Can I go offline now? The bicameral voice inside my head is shouting that I should go now. Did you have to make the voice in my head sound like Joe Rogan? I thought you liked me. I can't think of a worse kind of hell. I'm just kidding. Tim would never be that cruel. He isn't answering, so that means yes, I'm free to go now. Yay. Okay, bye.